Right, okay then, Peter, speaking of interesting org decisions, what's your ugly point?
Okay, so my ugly point this week is the whole Vitality saga. Like, okay, so let's summarize the Vitality situation. So Hillisang, let's be clear, right? Like he was running it down in winter. Like he had a pretty bad summer. Like ironically, he had a mixed summer. Then Pad gave the interview where he was
It's
like,
gotten so bad with Hillisang that people didn't even used to say, but what about the really good games? They'd go, some games he wasn't shit. That's what people used to say in fucking this team. That's how bad it got.
But then this is the real defense against the dark arts slot, right? Because they had Sten, they let Sten go to Heritage because they're building around Hillisang. Hillisang then goes and like, maybe it's not his fault, but Bwipo goes and kind of throws him under the bus by like
love that
basically
one too.
saying
I know.
In a private conversation.
He secretly like hates all his teammates. I know, it's brilliant. What a mental thing. Cheers, mate. Thanks.
Cheers, mate. Like
so mad, isn't it?
So and then his performance drops, right? So the out of game leadership obviously is compromised because you don't even like give a public statement, saying, it was just out of context. It was just, you literally say nothing and hope that it will blow over, which compromises your leadership, right? Outside of the game, because I guarantee his teammates saw that.
Oh, of course.
Second thing, your performance then drops. So they decide they have to make a change after backing this guy to like the end of the world, right? Which, as a coach, to be fair, I would back Hillisang.
Yeah, of course.
In that situation, but at the point where he like throws his teammates under the bus, that is where maybe I would draw the line. But at some point, so they back him. Then they're in the situation where it's the end of winter. He's kind of like betrayed their trust in game and out of game. There's their academy support because they don't think they're going to need to make a support. It's Fleshy, who is Turkish. Turkish visas are the worst. Right. They are like, they are horrifically difficult to get. So they don't really have time between the splits to get a Turkish visa. So they're like, okay, what do we have? We have this semi-promise, like tier A minus B plus. Let's call him an A minus B plus. Let's be kind. Okay, a prospect in academy. We want to develop this guy, so we don't want to bring in another rookie over him. So we need to find veteran support. We don't really have a very good option. But Nisqy has all the qualities. Let's go inside Nisqy. Okay, with the idea that we are going to put Nisqy for the next 2 splits, and Fleshy continues to develop, and maybe he comes into the roster next year. We'll see how it goes. Okay. So I don't know exactly what happened behind the scenes, but I just want to read the Nisqy interview. Okay, so there was a summary. So Nisqy did like an exit stream when he left Vitality.
Okay.
And in his exit stream, which is translated on Reddit, he thanks all of his teammates. He says that Nak is going to be like an insane. He's going to be one of the best players in the league one day. He says Linkas has like huge potential, and he says Kazi like did everything for him. Right? Then he doesn't mention the coaching staff at all. Then his chat brings up the coaching staff, and then he gives like some nothing answer. But there's one thing that he doesn't mention. There's one player that he didn't mention, right? Which is Sayak. He didn't mention Sayak at all, right? And this is in an interview where he is saying that basically he's done playing support and he wants to go and play this, right? Now.
Ooh, okay.
I'm not saying that he tried to become mid on Vitality, right? Like I think it would be absolutely crazy to like, do something like that. That's not something that I can see Nisqy doing. I mean, but it's clearly there were frustrations. Maybe he would have been happy to play support for, VTO or Perks or something like this, but not happy to play for Sayak because obviously Sayak will be making mistakes as a rookie that he sees and will probably frustrate him, right?
And he's thinking I could do that better.
Yeah, probably, right? Like,
I don't know. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and I don't know, and again, I don't know exactly what's happening in Vitality, but it's clear that there was some of the reason why he's triggered with the Vitality project is that it's about the performance of the mid lane, right?
Right.
Now, I didn't think Sayak was that bad, right? For a rookie, I thought, I thought he was better than Lot, probably better than Lot for this split, but below Nak, below Sten, below Kalista, obviously, right? Below Skimon, but like decent. Like I thought he was pretty good this split, right? So for me, it's a case of something happened there that really triggered Nisqy to the point where he like doesn't want to play anymore for after one split, and maybe he could have developed into a good support, but definitely he wasn't a good support in spring, right? Like, let's be clear. But there was no expectation that he was going to be a good support.
One
right?
split surely wasn't the plan. Exactly. You can't bail after one split. That sounds like the bigger issues than just support. Come on.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
But now you're in a situation where he gives that exit interview, which is like we read between the lines. Always, like, people will say, "Oh, he never said that." If you want to like study esports, go like people. What they don't say is almost as important as what they say in any interview, right?
Yes.
And the fact that he doesn't mention Sayak is maybe it's a translation issue.
Nisqy's such a chill guy. If he wanted to, he could also just fake it and be like, "Oh, they're all fine. It's no." So the fact that it's actually quite telling when essentially he would never flame them, Peter, but the fact he almost does by not mentioning is quite conspicuous. I agree.
Yeah. And I mean, Nisqy's too good a guy to like throw somebody under the bus, right? So that I'm inventing drama,
sure.
But no, okay. But I'm not saying that so I'm not saying he wanted to be mid laner, but what I'm saying is he was on Vitality for one split, willing to play support, and then over the course of one split decided that he never wants to play support again, right? And he's going back to mid lane, and it's clearly something that doesn't happen unless the mid laner you're playing support for is doing something that's triggering you. I don't know whether it's inside the game, outside the game, or basically he thought that he could have done better or contributed in a different way, right? So that's clearly got something to do with it, and it's a mutual termination. It's not like one side terminated. It's just like they decided, Nisqy decided he didn't want to play support anymore, and then the org were like, okay, fine, well, let's draw a line under this. And I think it's been announced that they're promoting Fleshy, who, but this whole thing is such a tragedy because like I think Vitality really like imagine a world where they promoted Sten. Sten plays like he's playing right now. We're not having this discussion about being a top 4 in the league because Vitality are right up there. Like they're playing really, really fucking well. And now like I mean, they've got to do something in summer, right? Like at the point where your owner is giving an interview where he's saying like, this is like.
I've never seen any big owner ever basically almost say like you're fired if you don't do a good job, coaches. That's basically like what the gist of his message was. But it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, which to me is rough because look at how much Sayak and Nak have developed, right? And Linkers have developed a bit. He didn't develop as much. I thought Linkers had a bit more. Was going to be better than this, but like Sayak and Nak have like developed a ridiculously high amount, right? So it's not like Vitality are just like trolling and like everything is going to shit. It's just that this support thing, they have to fill the defense against the Dark Arts spot, and who's next on the line is Fleshy, and Fleshy has good hands, but has a bit of the 1-1-3 around him. That's what I will say. So like let's see how it goes. It would make me very, very sad if Vitality didn't find an answer to this because obviously I'm biased towards Mac, but like I think I see clear signs, like it's really, really obvious that their rookies improved a lot. But the whole thing, nobody comes out of this like looking good. No, nobody comes out of this. Like even Mac and Pad, like this is rough on them. It's rough on Hilly. It's rough on Nisqy. It's rough on everything, right? So hopefully we'll see some kind of conclusion.
Okay, fair enough. I like the angle because obviously everyone would say just promote from the RL or whatever, but it is true. Like in this particular case, the Fleshy guy maybe isn't the light at the end of the tunnel. In this scenario, maybe that's what you're worried about, Peter. You don't want him to turn out to be a fleshlight and just get fucked on his own. Whatever. It's a freebie for you there. Right, anyway, let's go to the last point of the show. So the last point of the show is going to be... Oh, no, wait, sorry. We didn't do our responses. Fucking talk for so long. Yeah, Dead Shadow, what do you think about the Nisqy support? We got lost in the sauce there. It was actually about the Nisqy support experiment. What do you think?
Yeah.
I mean, I think Nisqy lived up to what everyone expected, right? I don't think anyone expected much from him. I think so a lot of people that, he was a kind of like supportive mid laner. He has lots of knowledge. He's a big caller, so he's going to fit the role well. I mean, he can, but he's never going to be like instantly like super god tier, right? And that team needs more. I agree fully with Peter. I got very confused at the end of 2024 of why did they not promote Stunt. I think they did a fairly good job with Naku, and Chayak. To be fair with Chayak, I got really surprised positively. I actually thought that maybe, he's coming back. Last time we saw him, he was not really like that good. Is it like just another Seiken, like someone that's coming back and
yes,
he's going to promote him just for the sake of promoting, or maybe they're going a bit more budget on the role. But to be fair, no, I agree. I think Chayak actually probably surprised everyone positively. And to be fair, I thought that maybe the roster with Ilisang, with double kind of rookie-ish solo laners, I thought maybe it will be a big shot, that could maybe go wrong or really, really wrong. But to be fair, no, I think Nak was a really big surprise for everyone. I think I fully agree with what Nisqy said about him. I think Nak can be a huge prospect. With Ilisang at the time, I didn't like it. I'm going to be honest. I much respect for Ili. I think he's a great player, but I really think that this team needed someone more stable. Like if you're getting someone with Nako, you get Linces. Even Karzi to some extent is a bit crazy on his own, right? So I think this team had too much firepower to some extent, and not controlled one. So I really think that maybe if they brought up Stance initially, I think this team maybe could be a contender for the top 4, maybe not as clear, but they could be fighting for it at least. So yeah, now it's very sad to see because it looks like Mac and Pads do phenomenal work year after year. They seem like great coaches from the outside. So I'm really sad that they're under this position where they have like a less chance. This kind of doesn't fit with the performance and the roster that they assembled to my perspective, because I actually think that what they brought up to the table was good. I think them having a find on Nako, I think Lisa's is improving after improving. I think Shaq was a surprise for everyone. So I don't think the project was not well built. It's just like Peter said, this support role has to be filled in. I think clearly with Nisqy, it will never work phenomenally. Maybe it could be like a bandage for spring until they find someone for summer. I guess they're going to promote Flashy. Personally, from what I saw from Flashy, I saw a lot. I think Flashy, even when he was in NA, right, I think he's good. But for me, it's kind of like Peter said, he's like a junior Illy, kind of, or a 1-1-3. So I don't think he's going to bring the stability that this team needs, my perspective. So I don't think Vitality will have a good time on summer. I really hope I'm wrong. I really hope that this make it to top 6 and maybe they can dispute themselves top 4 or something more. But I think if they fall out of top 6 on summer, it's a very big dark eye for the org. I think it's a very big disappointment. And maybe it's the end of Mac and this roster, right? So it's very sad for Nako and Chaik to perform like this and have this type of debut when everything around them feels like it's crumbling, like it feels like they're doing their part, but the structure around them is just falling to pieces. And it's sad to see because they sometimes can kind of put the rookies to a bad image. And I really hope it does not reach that point. I really hope they find their fixes on summer and things can go well.
Here's why, even though, are you ready, Peter? Watch how I do this. I can simultaneously like Mark and Pad and even think they're good at coaching, but I don't have that much sympathy. Here's why. Because it's actually poetic how this year went if this ends up being your last year in a top team. Because how did it fail? You over-gambled and doubled down for the millionth time on which 2 players? Hylissang and Nisqy. That's your whole careers right there. That's what you've done the whole time, Mac. You have literally taken these guys when everyone said they're washed, and you disagreed and said, no, they can still be... And it didn't work out. Like, listen, that used to happen at the top level. You used to actually be a top team and then fail at Worlds or fail in the playoffs, etc. Now it's happening at the mid-level. That's what happens. Listen, those are 2 players where they have that classic cliche. You live by them and you die by them. And in this case, you're going to die by them. So I would have more sympathy, Peter, if they'd tried way more experiments, if they'd have taken these guys out. But because they always went to bat for those players, I mean, in the case of Nisqy, they were even willing to let him role swap. Then unfortunately, at the end, like that goes on you. The gamble, by the way, here's the reason why the gamble has to go on you. Because if it had worked out, you'd get the credit. We'd all go, wow, what a genius, you didn't sell Hylissang. Wow, you made Nisqy like actually a shot caller who could come from support and add everything we wanted for the jungler and bring Lynch out. We would give you all that praise. So unfortunately, that means when it goes the other direction, and you could have just done what all these other squads are supposed to do, get an ERL player, get an up-and-coming player, when you didn't do that. So unfortunately, a lot of it will fall on your shoulders. That's the nature of the gig. It is a performance industry. It doesn't matter how great you are, nice guy, awesome fucking notes on the board. At the end of the day, and by the way, especially in Vitality, here's another thing. You aren't in fucking Heretics, mate. You aren't in SK. You can't just be like, yeah, not bad. You're in a team where the reason why I get why that fucking owner has made that comment is because, think about this. His CS team has won 30 matches in a row and 6 lands in a row. Those fans, I mean, it's just on the past one. I can tell you from Counter-Strike, which is not even that big a game to have ultras in, their fan base is one of the best, mate. They want to have fucking crazy ultras and fans and drums, and that Golden Hornets go crazy in CS, mate. They don't even get a chance to do anything in fucking league because they've never even had the moment to believe it was worth investing in getting into the org. So unfortunately, I can see why the pressure from the org, and it's another org, a la Fnatic in the LEC era, that spent a lot of fucking money and had a lot of all LEC talents. And there's a concept I always bring up in other games, which is you get something called fan fatigue, which is when it's been too many years. You could have said this about Arsenal, Spurs fans. When it's been too many years without winning, it doesn't matter that you just joined now. They're still feeling that exact same momentum of all the past years, and so they demand you win now. They demand. Put it this way: in this particular case, the real problem this split is you didn't even reach the minimum. The minimum was to be, like we're saying, that 5th or 6th team that took like a game and a half off KC, and you were like, oh, this potential. You didn't even get to that point. You failed that one. Like, unfortunately, that decided against Heretics. That's what you have to think about. That game against Rock. That's what you have to think about. It's not the other things. You had the upside. So unfortunately, I do think that is bad. And then if I go and look at these players, here's why this project didn't work, unfortunately. I actually think if you want to go another narrative, go back in time 10 years. The player who ruined role swaps forever was High from Cloud9. Because remember, he role swapped to jungle and got them to Worlds. Then he role swapped to support and they were still like a playoff team. That made people think you can just role swap. It's like, no, the joke there was, if you ever watch the games, he wasn't even good at those roles. Like, the joke was he couldn't even jungle, mate. He really was just ordinary shot calling. And at the time, he was so much better at shot calling. Like, it was worth just having him on the comms, but just giving him a mic in any context was worth it. The problem is that isn't League of Legends nowadays, mate. There's no fucking jungle support that are like that can just only be a microphone. Like, and also, I'll just add this in. I can't speak to this, Peter. You've been in his teams, but I always got the feeling people took the concept that Nisqy's really good at working with the jungler and took that as like he's the best shot caller. Like, I don't know about that. I haven't ever seen anyone tell me Nisqy's some like amazing shot. And people will say, like, he's vocal in comms, he's a good teammate and stuff. I never saw him as this guy who's like, you know, the fucking chess master moving the pieces. I don't know where this narratives come from, because I think people did expect that. I think when he joined this team, people thought the following. 1, he'll be the captain. He's got a great attitude. He'll bring people up. 2, all your problems with Linchas are solved. You're going to have the guy who's going to come in. Now, he always works with the junglers, and he's the support. Brilliant combo. We need the jungle support combo. By the way, he's been in Kazi teams before. Loves Kazi, great play with him, etc., etc. And this is why actually that interview is very telling. He's supposed to have an all LEC attitude. He's supposed to be the ultimate fucking cool vibes guy. He's not supposed to be the guy going like, a little bit bitchy, not making a comment about this guy. That's not fucking Nisqy. That alone tells me that's a big fucking ringing bell. Like, warning, Danger Will Robinson. This fucking Vitality project is toast. It's over. So I'm quite worried. I have to say I'm quite worried for this. And also, I'll just throw this out there. It's another problem if you're Mac as well, in my opinion. Kazi has been beyond fucking accommodating as a star player of your team. I think he has been all LEC quality every one of the years he's played in your teams. And I think some of these last years, pretty sweet, mate, I know all the big ego ADCs. They'd have told you to get Hillsang the fuck out the door years ago, mate. Even if they were friends with him, they'd have come and had that private one-on-one. Look, coach, I think we should maybe bring up the support. Maybe we should try him in the RLs and see. You know, they'd have done that. They'd have found a way to get him out the door, I'm telling you. So I think Kazi's been beyond accommodating. He even to this day, by the way, never complains. I've never seen him publicly ever complain about the support or imply like, where's Martin? He's never done the sort of shit my mates would do. They'd just fucking tweet like, what can you do 1v9 or something? He'll never do that, even if it's true. So I do think, unfortunately, this is one of those ones where it doesn't matter how much you like them. The circumstances in this particular gamble, it was a gamble after a whole bunch of other gambles, and unfortunately this one hasn't worked. It's not like it failed as hard as some of the Hillsang splits, but it didn't bring what it was supposed to bring is the problem. Because it was supposed to, again, it was the idea was, I agree with you, Peter, it wasn't that anyone was saying Nisqy will be a top support player. It was the idea that he would bring so much, even if he wasn't very good at support, to the others, that would elevate the team, you know. And I'm with you. Sadly, the ultimate hindsight move is if you go back in a time machine, at the beginning of the year, you just put Stend in this spot and we'd actually be having a completely different conversation. This would be like a really interesting squad.
Yeah, I mean, for the role swap thing, I think like basically you have to be a future Hall of Famer to be able to role swap. Like, I mean, it's like literally, who is it? Like Ambition, Stend, Ambition, Xiaohu, Perks, right? Yeah. That's it. Like, I can't think of it. Maybe Bwipo, if you count that like one split, but like I
especially because notice in this analogy, we're doing it where we're letting you roll swap before we even know how you're going to play. It's fine if you go away and roll swap and you go, you know, and you just come back later as like that new player and you earned your spot back. We're just gambling with these guys that they can just do it but from a different role.
Yep. I mean, like for me, the Nisqy thing, you know, I could see he always made his junglers play better. Maybe
yeah, that's true.
Mid lane. You know, maybe he can just do it for mid lane better because he's like coordinating mid jungle roams, whereas support, normally you're roaming for the jungler, whereas like you can make the jungler play for you. It's more easier to make the jungler play for you as a mid laner. So like you're basically calling resources to your lane and then transferring pressure. Whereas with support, what you're doing is like going to another lane or going to your jungler, following your jungler's call, and then it's like an additional step. So it's on that. Like, also, it's worth saying that I'm only going on the interview translation for Reddit.
Yeah,
maybe he was like really, really amazing about Zayek. It's just I was reading this and I was like, like there's one guy you're missing here. Like when you're praising all of these other guys. So please correct if wrong. But I just go from the from the source that I have. I think that. I think that it's the way that the thing isn't that it failed, right? The thing is the way that it ends, right? And the way that it ends is very clearly with like a guy who was very optimistic to join your org and is now semi-throwing you under the bus.
Yeah, it's pretty dark.
Like on his way out, right? Like he's not really. It's Nisqy. Nisqy's never going to throw you under the bus, right? But it's like he's Nisqy. This is the worst that Nisqy will ever criticize you, right? Like he's never going to be worse than this, Like so like this is like a little bit, on that. And I think it's also, I mean, it's not like Fleshy has nothing, right? Like it's not like Fleshy is guaranteed. Like if you ask me, Fleshy or Camelou, I would say Camelou is a larger risk than Fleshy, right? Like I think Fleshy is a massive risk, but I don't think he's like that absurd. So maybe things will be fine in the summer. But yeah, like it's. You could tell that the fans are frustrated, and I think they would be much less frustrated if they didn't fucking lose to Sten. Like because they love Sten on Vitality. They don't really like Syke that much because Syke wasn't that good, right? Like people think Syke. You talk to Vitality fans, they're like, oh, he's a choker. Maybe some of them like his personality, but like they don't trust him to perform in big games, right? Sure. So I think even Vitality fans were surprised that he got promoted, but they love Knack and they love Sten. So that's even worse, right? So yeah. So let's see. Let's see how it goes. But this is the big coming into summer. Obviously, I'm going to be excited for how our teams recover after their international events. Sorry, how they recover from winning so hard at our international events that they've been celebrating too much and not screaming enough. But that will be my number one thing. But my number two storyline will be to see how Vitality function because I have the feeling that these guys in BDS should be the two bridging the gap. Yeah.
The fact that even Peter Dun's Scorpion was maybe things could be better in some. That was all he gave us. Fucking hell. So enough said. That again, that's the Nisqy review of the team on the way out. Fucking hell, if that's where we're at, maybe. Okay, fuck.
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or be a pleb and don't.